I would like to invite my moderator. Please join me, Mr. Rajesh Bansal, Chief Executive Officer, Reserve Bank Innovation Hub. Pleasure having you here, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. Our speaker for the session, Mr. Vaidyanathan Vembu, MD and CEO, IDFC First Bank. A very good evening to you, sir. And we have Mr. Sumnesh Joshi, Deputy Director General, Department of Telecommunication. A very good evening to you, sir. Let's welcome him with a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you.
Can I start? Yeah. So very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this super exciting session. And I don't think I need to give you a background. It's there in the newspapers every day. And I hope none of you have lost money, none of your relatives have lost money, because you would have read people are losing their life savings. One of the recent incidents which you know, a retired RBI officer lost 4.4 crore rupees. I don't know how many of you read it, in 40 transactions. It's become a commonplace issue. Hence we realize that at this forum, we need to discuss that how do we kind of, stop this, minimize this risk, which is actually eroding trust in the banking and financial sector. And who better than in the financial sector to have Mr. Vaidyanathan for his bank, he'll talk to us about what he's doing, and he's a veteran banker. And Sumnesh Joshi, the other pillar of technology and telecom, which is critical because you get a call. Can Mr. Vaidyanathan stop the call? No. It's ultimately Department of Telecom which can do something. And over the last 1 year, Department of Telecom has put all its weight behind. So trust me, number of calls you may not realize, but have gone down drastically because I'm given to understand when there is a fraud happens, Sumnesh, I'm taking some of your glory, it's not just that they block that SIM card, they block the IMEI, so 1,000 numbers are blocked on an average. That's what I learned from Department of Telecom. So let's get straight into it. Starting with you, Mr. Vaidyanathan. You've been at multiple banks and you've been leading the digital transformation, as I always call you a digital bank. How have you seen over the last decade? And why is it that all of a sudden we see that the frauds, the nature has evolved? So could you give us an audience a preview as an opening remark?
First of all, good evening, everybody. It's really a great pleasure to see all of you, and thank you, Rajesh, and thanks everybody here. Now, the thing is mainly that it is affecting any customer who's been through a fraud, even if 1,000 rupees or even smaller amount, their trust in banking comes down. I have actually seen, Rajesh, senior people, even at, in your institution, who have told me that, look, I don't want any app from any bank. I don't want internet banking. I don't want mobile banking. I don't want anything. Just leave me to my branch. Why?
I know enough senior people
who tell you that. So we should know that it is affecting, therefore, trust in banking. Now, therefore, it becomes an important thing that's at the heart of it. Second thing is that people who lose money, it's the hard-earned money, and we feel for that. Now, the second thing that's important, just for context setting among all of us, is that there are two kinds of situations that we should think about. One is where customer is a victim. Now, all the people in the room right now, they know a romance scam or a, phishing scam or a investment scam or a Ponzi scam, all that. That is where customer is a victim. Where customer is a victim, I think this ecosystem is doing a lot of education at this point of time, and they're trying their best to educate. And as a bank, our responsibility should not be just to say that I educated you, you made a mistake. We should figure out how we put guardrails on it such that even if you're falling for a scam, the system protects you. And that is where AI will play an important role, not just to educate. Educate is the first part of it. Second part is where customers are perpetrator. There, I'll tell you one small story. Mr. Vagul? Everybody knows Mr. Vagul. And he was on the board, in my previous organization, and he told a small comment. He said that, you can wake up somebody who's sleeping, but you can't wake up somebody who's pretending to sleep. Okay, same situation here. When customers themselves are perpetrator, then no amount of education is going to help. because they're perpetrators themselves. And there, it leads to even bigger issues. Fraud is by itself a bad issue. But a bigger issue is that now they're perpetrators, they can be mule, and mule can lead to, child trafficking, human trafficking, can lead to really all kind of things that, hits the core of your gut. So either way we look at it, whether the customer is a victim or customer is a perpetrator, both ways are the kind of landscape that you can think of, and in both areas, AI can play a really big role, which is the subject of today's discussion.
No, thanks for giving the opening remarks, because the lay of the land has been changing. And one of the analogies I give, a lot of people say, so is digital expressway a bad thing? I'm sure some of you might agree. But my take is building expressways a bad thing? I mean, accidents will happen. So we have to build enough guardrails, and emerging technology, as Vaidyanathan said, gives us an opportunity. So I'll talk a bit about what we at Reserve Bank Innovation Hub are doing. Before that, I'll come to Sumnesh, my old friend. We have worked at Aadhaar for a long time now. He's at Telecom Ministry. That over the last 1 year, if you had noticed, actually you would not have noticed also, that one is over the last 10 years, and I'll come to the last 1 year or so, the ever-evolving landscape of threat, which ultimately happens through telecom network, has taken a new shape. So Sumnesh, before we go into, in the next set of questions, could you tell us, as somebody who has spent too many decades doing digital transformation in the country?
So thank you, Rajesh. And, everyone is aware that, the more digital transformation, more data is coming, right? More point of sale service. Of course, frauds are going to be happen. So we have to have strong, robust mechanism to deter it. And telecom or mobile, I can say, you can draw the analogy, most of the now transactions are happening using the mobile, and mobile has become an integral part of the financial system. Every bank account and one mobile number. So we call it the Jam Trinity. I'm forgetting Aadhaar. So in that, mobile number and account goes hand in hand, and whatever frauds are happening is because of one is the OTP, right? And how OTP is being taken, there are lots of ways, and the communication network plays an important role because everything is coming through that mobile network. All the messages are coming, and maybe they are very smart. Suppose you purchase something from a website, right? And next moment you get a call that, yes, you are eligible for some lottery or maybe participant, right, in a prize. So, and it's creating trust, all social engineering. So by anyhow they want to, you should click and maybe share the OTP or some information, right? Those frauds will happen. So, and it is coming through the SMS, or maybe they are calling also. Sometimes, calls are coming and you think that, yes, calls are coming always from an Indian number. But, the perpetrator are somewhere else in the South Asian country, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos. There they are sitting and they are calling us, but the number is coming, the Indian number is coming on the CLI. So, and the country like India, right, it's very difficult, people are not much more tech savvy, and immediately, they give the OTP or they click. And nowadays, lots of things are happening that the messages are coming is just as good as that maybe you will click it that maybe it's a true, message. So what DOT has done, so one is they have taken a Sanchar Sati initiative. That is very important because mobile is, of course, a critical thing in today's, and suppose your mobile is lost, what will you do? Everything you will go along with the mobile. So immediately you have to block that mobile through the IMEI number. So there is a facility on this portal. One can register the complaint and it will get automatically blocked. So one is to prevent the fraud, and it may help you to recover your lost mobile also in future. This is the added advantage.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
Lakhs of mobiles, which I think no.
Yeah, so 20 lakh, lost mobile case we have registered, and 11 lakh we have, got it back, right? That we have blocked in the system. So it's really, fascinating that this facility is available, and we have to make the people aware about this, how to lodge the lost mobile complaint and get your mobile back. on the social media, I'm seeing many Insta Reel also, they are promoting all these things, right? So how to get back your mobile. Second is maybe when frauds happens, right? And someone will catch you, right? Okay, something has happened with your mobile, but that mobile doesn't belong to you. So because you don't know how many mobiles numbers have been taken on your name. So for that also there is a facility to know your mobile. You go to Sanchar Sathi portal and one can find out that how many mobiles are registered on your name. So then you find the 3 or 4 numbers are not belonging to you. So you can just simply raise the complaint and get them blocked. So this is second initiative we have taken to avoid all these frauds. And third is that when you purchase any mobile, right? And sometimes the mobile IMI is lost or maybe theft mobile. So that also you can check what is this IMI before purchasing any of the mobile handset. And when you got a call from an international number and displaying the Indian number, so that also you can report on the portal. Because why we require this feedback, all tools or algorithms are working behind the scene, and then we can prevent in future and we can find out who are the fraudsters, from where these calls are coming, right? So we can do some analysis and take the preventive steps in that. And one important recently launched facility called Chakshu, that any fraudulent message you are receiving or maybe any fraudulent call you are receiving, that immediately you can again log in on the Sanchar Sathi and report it. So we can do the analysis that from which mobile these messages are coming, which area these messages are coming. So we take action and we blacklist all those and we take the action. So these are some of the customer initiative we have taken. And just in 1 minute, that even on the policy level also, right? We have taken decision that now all mobile connection will give on the biometric, mandatory biometric authentication. It's not the now paper-based.
Is that already
that has already in the way the new Telecom Act has a provision that to make mandatory biometric authentication to take a mobile number. And not only this, all these franchisees distributors, the point of sale device, and that give the SIM. So for them also it's a mandatory onboarding. And if any issue is there, we'll take action against them. Yeah. And we put a penalty also if someone is doing the impersonation. So there's up to 3 years imprisonment and 50 lakhs rupees fine. So all these things we have taken in this new act, and we are trying that fraud should not happen. There should be deterrent in the form of the strict action.
So, Sumnesh, thank you for laying out what the ministry is doing. So I don't know how many of us even knew the fact that I was in Aadhaar earlier. And when I started working in Department of Telecom on eKYC way back in 2013-14, I was shocked to hear that it is very normal that the physical copy that we used to give, people have thousands of SIM cards issued on that photocopy. Thousands. So maybe I would urge all of you, as Sumnesh said, go to the website and check. Maybe for all you know, my copy, your copy has been misused and somebody has bought a SIM card. But coming back to, I would want to engage the audience a little more. I'm looking at that watch very carefully. How many of you have received a Skype call with the DP of Mumbai Police? 1, 2. Again, nothing against Mumbai Police here, just to be very careful. That is becoming one of the most common scams. And I thought I'll just take a minute. I know Vaidyanathan will talk more about it. That the best of people with the toughest of minds have fallen prey to that scam. So I thought, Vaidyanathan, as a bank, 2 elements. As the Department of Telecom said, onboarding of customer itself, they're trying to strengthen. From your perspective and unique point of view, the onboarding, what I learned is, and transaction monitoring are 2 very different ball games. And I think you have been firing on all cylinders to try and see how do we, what has the bank done to reduce and how is AI/ML being used?
I'll explain. You're right. Actually, in the last maybe 1.5 to 2 years, we've been working a lot to figure out how to avoid, mules from opening account with a bank and non-desirable people to open account at the bank. How do we do it? The traditional way would be that customers would give, when they open a bank account, they would give, say, a phone number. Now, this is the old world. Now, phone number is a phone number, but now you can authenticate this phone number with UIDI, to Aadhaar. You can do PAN validation. Now, suddenly you have a 3-point check, what the customer gave you and what you checked with the two databases. Then, let me say, a photo. Same thing. You can check here, you can check this database, you can check database, you got a validation. Third thing is that while we're opening a bank account, now we're able to hit multiple databases. We have demographic data. We have bureau data. By the way, customers are opening a bank account, but we're doing a bureau data. Okay? So we're going to bureau data, you get a set of information.
Even for opening a liability account?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Okay? So you get the bureau data, you get a set of information from that. Demographic you got from here. Like that, there are multiple sources of data that you're getting from the customer. Fourth data point. First, I told you identity. Two, I told you mobile number, contactability. Third, I told you data. Fourth thing is that we are now beginning to actually see certain validation checks for the customer at the time of account opening itself. For example, if customer is opening a bank account. Now, while opening the bank account, we're seeing one IP. But while opening, 5 kilometers away, another IP is switching. It's impossible for the customer to travel that distance. A system can catch it. Now, for example, if if it's coming from a blacklisted IP address, you can stop it. Single mobile phone having multiple SIMs, or a single SIM, multiple mobile number. All this information are all tracking, information tracking. So these 4 things you check on the line. So if you check all these things and then open the account, then you know that fundamentally you identified the contactability, identity, data, everything, and then you have a very good picture of the customer even before the customer opened the account. So you stop mule. Second part of the conversation is, what do you do after customer open the account? Because customer can do wrong things.
At the time of opening, you really don't know whether
You don't know.
or not. Yeah.
That's transaction. Yeah. Now, transaction monitoring, if you think about how the role AI can play, I'm just giving a picture here. Today, what is happening? That, the bunch of rules that come from FIU, etc., there's 170 rules. Now, 170, actually guidelines. From those guidelines, you get about 1,700 rules. You code every one of those 1,700 rules onto the system. Now, system, out of your lakhs and millions of transactions, throws out, say, about lakh and a half, suspicious, let me say, alerts. They're not even suspicious, they're alerts.
They're alerts. Yeah.
Now, some human being is sitting and doing some work on those alerts and figuring out which of these is a good transaction or bad transaction, because otherwise you'll have false positives. So out of that, you identify 1 or 2% of them, which means for 98% of them, you looked and you dropped it away, and then you picked up 2%, and then you reported it, whatever you did, as per the law. Now, this whole process I described to you can be quite painful. So the AI can do this job better than human beings can. Yeah. And that is the process. While the rules may still be the same, alerts may still be a lot, your selection of what of them you want to file suspicious reports, that can become much, much superior.
Yeah. So, to talk about that, what is under the hood which makes it difficult for a bank? I'm sure a lot of you think, what's the big deal? The why that, as you said, you might have been used as a mule or somebody conned you, but it's a lot of complex technology that goes into it. Imagine, as he said, if 1 lakh suspected mule, or so to say, alerts are generated, it's not easy for a bank to finally say, okay, this is what it is. So, I'm very mindful, and I see that the watch is already red. So I'll just request you for something, but what we learned, and exactly you made my job easier, most of the financial system players today, our team learned, use this rule-based alert engine and an analyst sitting and looking at the screen with a 90% rejection. Suppose I am the analyst looking at it. My mind is, okay, man, 9 out of 10 are actually false positive. What AI can do is can potentially take it to a 90% accuracy.
Correct.
So that it will take it to that. Our model, mulehunter.ai, I can't stop but talk about us also, please visit our stall. Mulehunter.ai that we have developed. I mean, obviously we don't have all the skill set which Vaidyanathan has, we can't afford to hire. But we are trying to do a public service to make it happen.
No, you're doing a great job. And I'll tell you a small story. Yeah. Once I was flying, from one of the sectors, and one psychologist was sitting next to me. Now, I have nothing to do with psychologists normally in life. So I asked him, so tell me something about your job. He told me a small story, which is very relevant here. He told me that, one orange sorters, the people who sort oranges, they said some of, the owner of that place, he came and told me that a lot of my people are suffering from headaches. So I told him, what is the job? He said, job is to look at the orange and sort it from, big orange, put it in that, small orange, put it here, so that they can get packed and go to the market. So I told him that, doctor, it can't be a very difficult job, man. You're only putting. Kehta, listen, Vaidyanathan, you do one thing. You try picking up an orange. Every time you look at the orange, you have to decide, is it a big orange? Should go there? Should go or medium? Well, what do you do? Kehta, do this for 10 hours a day, your head will also ache. He said, job is simple. But if it is important, job is simple, but if it's repetitive and if it's important, he says, you will have headaches. Now the people who are sitting and looking at those lakhs of alerts, every time they take a judgment call, is there a serious issue or not a serious issue, you will also have headache. So really, they can lose their concentration. So I think I learned something from that person that, if it's a small job also, it can be quite a headache.
Actually, it's a very great analogy that this is what is happening largely. But the fact that AI can actually make the job smarter, more efficient, and think about it as human, then it might take a few weeks for the account to be actually a debit freeze or whatever. But AI can make it happen in near real time. So if you don't mind, Sumnesh and Vaidyanathan, I'll try and summarize the collaboration part, because I'm looking at the watch. The third part of my question was, but I don't have time, is that if we have to all, unless we work together, especially customers, 1 billion customers, not very easy. Everybody is, there are enough people who want to con all of us. The telecom department, the telecom ministry, the telecom regulator, the financial sector regulator, and the financial system. So I think a good step has already been taken, but maybe one sentence each, please. I'm mindful, Sumnesh. One more thing you want to, one sentence, what do you want to do to make it happen?
See, for the collaboration, we have developed a digital intelligence platform, right? And what we are doing, see, it's as AIML.
Sumnesh, I can take the liberty, one sentence, sorry, digital intelligence platform, sorry.
So in digital intelligence platform, so we have started onboarding of all the banks, all state police department, Ministry of Home Affairs, and FIU, NIA, so all UIDI, GST, and so all these are now stakeholders, so we can share the information. So what information is required, the one information I will say the disconnected.
I'm interrupting.
So just have
No, please. I'm very mindful of time.
Yeah. So see, we need to know that how many mobile numbers are disconnected, because all the service provider are giving the services on the mobile number and they don't know that these mobiles have been disconnected. Now they don't belong to the
banking system, it's still live.
Yeah. So that's why using that information through the common platform, they can immediately take the action, and it should be in the real time. So we can, safeguard the interest of the customers.
This is actually a great initiative which I learned from Secretary Telecom, and which I'm sure, so Vaidyanathan, your take?
I know, I'll keep it very quick because you're con. The thing is that basically if someone is done a fraud with the telecom system, and hundreds of fraud, you ask him, he will tell you every fraud known to man is sitting in that part, is sitting in banking system, or sitting in every system. But fundamentally, if somebody has done a fraud there, whether it's a SIM swap fraud or any fraud, the person has the mind, because I believe a lot in intent. That person has the mind of a fraud. Now that fraud can spill over to banking also. So therefore, the database of customers who have done this fraud in telecom sector or in, let me say, insurance sector, all the kind of fraud that happen there, stage death and all that, or overclaim, underclaim, all that. So database of these customers who sit in the databases, if they are available on a common pool, which you can do an API ping, and then you can decline those transactions or become suspicious in our own bank, it will be immensely helpful.
Thank you. So we have this thing within RBIH, a hashtag called Mule Account Mukt Bharat. So I think it needs collaboration from all of us to make it a mule
But
account.
Rajesh, by the way, you've done lots of fantastic things. If you can help this country develop this database, I'm telling you right now, you'll done a yeoman's work. And by the way, it doesn't have to be only telecom. Telecom is a wonderful space. I mean, it's got just so much. But there are 4 or 5 such databases in the country. Put them together, dedupe them, and offer it as an API service to the system. I'm telling you, today, you'll have $1 billion for that valuation alone.
Thank you for giving us that advice. My team is. Thank you so much for an exciting panel. Thank you, audience.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing these insightfuls with us. It was a pleasure having you all here. I hope you enjoyed as well. We were taking all the notes back then. I was seeing all of them. It was a lovely session. Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure having you here.